Hello everybody, welcome to a very special video where we are going to talk about the nominees for the Video Game Awards 2023. Now, if you don't know what the Video Game Awards are, that is okay. I am here to tell you that this event is entirely awesome. And no, I'm not sponsored or anything like that to say that. It's an awesome event where it is a celebration where we come together to celebrate everything video games has achieved within the year. And it's a phenomenal event. We get to see awards handed out to amazing video games that are created over the year, and we also get a glimpse of upcoming projects for what we're going to see in games in the future. Now, when I recorded this video, obviously, as you can tell, it is a little bit late. It's a little bit late at night because, I have a job, I have a life and everything that I've got going on with everything that I do. The nominees were announced today, which is insane because some of these nominees I was personally not expecting. Some of these nominees to be nominated for some of these categories. So here's how this is going to go down, because I want to share with you my thoughts, my personal take on everything that the Game Awards has announced, and then kind of go from there, just to compare and contrast with what I thought was going to be nominated to what was actually nominated. So if you like that, we're going to go with it. I'm just trying to think of words to say. It is also very late at night. I need a sip of my tea for the caffeine. Just give me one sec. Alright, so obviously everybody wants to start off with Game of the Year and Best Game Direction as like the first two awards that you want to start with. I'm actually going to save those for last in this video. We're just going to work our way down through what the Game Awards has tweeted in their official Twitter feed, or X, whatever you want to call it. I still call it Twitter. Sorry, Elon Musk. And basically just go down the list of everything that is listed from the top to the bottom, saving Game of the Year, and then Best Game Direction for last. So we're going to start with Best Action Adventure. If you look on the screen, these are the nominees. This is who they nominated. Alan Wake 2, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, the remake, not the original, the remake, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and then The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Now, personally, from looking at all of this makes complete sense. Absolutely makes complete sense, because when you think about a best action adventure, you want to think of not only the fighting style of the game, but you also want to make sure that it's a game that is having that sense of adventure, hence action adventure. Bear with me. So looking at these games, at first I thought it was going to be 6 nominations for this category, but that's only for Game of the Year. So looking at this, these 5 games are very, very strong. Now, personally, I have not played Alan Wake 2, so everything that Alan Wake 2 is nominated for, I'm not going to have any relevance as to what goes on in the game or anything like that, because I have yet to play it. I am planning on playing it, seeing how many nominations it has, because I was avoiding it because I was like, I don't know if it's going to do well, after the first one, but it's apparently done really well. So I'm going to play the second one at some point for my channel. So I don't have anything really bad or negative to say about Alan Wake 2, because obviously if this is getting nominations, it clearly has some sort of praise that is out there for it, so I have to try it out myself to see what's going on there. Marvel Spider-Man 2, absolutely, I could see this being Best Action Adventure Game. I think this is going to be the winner in this category based on what the nominees are going to be. If you think about the story arc in Marvel Spider-Man 2, which I'm currently releasing episodes for, but I have finished the game. I have personally finished the game. The game is done. I have all the thoughts in my brain. In this game, not only is there momentum for all the action that goes on with the fighting and the villains and everything that goes on, but these Spider-Man games have been such a popular trend as they have been released, starting with the original Marvel Spider-Man that came out in 2018. I believe that's the year that came out for it, for PlayStation 4. And then following in 2020 with Miles Morales, following the release of the new PlayStation 5 console. Then, leading into Marvel Spider-Man 2, it builds and builds and builds and continues to deliver everything that Spider-Man is, but better. And that just, to me, shows that that is just going to be it. Resident Evil 4, the remake, I will say this game is absolutely phenomenal. From playing this game and just seeing Leon Kennedy just being a badass and just being who he is, it's an absolutely marvelous game. There is a little bit of the comedic side where, he's kicking everybody, he's just kicking everybody down and all that stuff. It's kind of really funny, and everything there, and then everything that goes on. But they've upped the ante with Resident Evil 4, so that definitely has some good momentum in there. So I could definitely see that winning. Jedi Survivor, which was a phenomenal sequel to Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order back in I think that game was 2019, if I'm not mistaken. It came out right before COVID. I know that. It came out right before COVID happened. That game was absolutely phenomenal. Jedi Survivor just basically takes it to the next level, and that game just is absolutely phenomenal. The story arc, everything, it was just a marvelous game. And I've done a playthrough of that game, and it's absolutely one of my favorite games that I have played. You should definitely check that out. Last but not least, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. So obviously, Breath of the Wild, when that came out, I believe that was 2017? Breath of the Wild, if I'm correct. I'll correct myself in the video. But when Breath of the Wild came out, that absolutely took audiences by storm with how popular that game was, and everything that you could do in terms of the story arc, how much exploration and open world that there is that you can do in Breath of the Wild. Obviously, expanding upon that in Tears of the Kingdom, there's more and more and more that you can do that adds on top of what Breath of the Wild originally was. And that, to me, is always top tier. When a game has a very successful sequel, it's going to be good. And a lot of these games are sequels. There are a lot of sequels in this category, which is really, really fascinating. Now, personally, a game that I thought was going to be in Best Action Adventure that's not on this list was shockingly Hogwarts Legacy. Now, before you say anything about Hogwarts Legacy, I know that the developers have been delayed. I hear your thoughts. I truly hear your thoughts, but I'm just going to share what I personally think about this, because going back to Hogwarts Legacy, if you think about the game in itself and everything that game delivered, there's nothing like it. Obviously, the developers gave a big, we don't care what J.K. Rowling says, we're going to include transgender characters into the cast of this game. We're going to make this a very inclusive environment for all types of players to play. Yet, the backlash that you would see from the community towards that, which is, first off, horrible. No, everybody should be who they are, and everybody should embrace that. We should celebrate that, you know what I mean? And if video games want to push that forward, so that we can see that inclusivity in these games, then we should embrace that, and that game was definitely on the right track for that. But not only is that that whole debacle that got everything going, but you think about the combat, the number of spells, and then learning the unforgivable curses as side quests, going on those quests, I believe with Sebastian was his name, going around Hogwarts, and then around the town trying to figure out what was going on with Sebastian's sister, while also learning these unforgivable curses, and then also going through the story arc of the goblins and everything that was going on there. That really delivered, really truly delivered, because there was so much elements that was added on top of one another the more and more and more you progressed, and that's what brought the action. Absolutely brought the action. Where I can see it get its backlash, unfortunately, was how long that game was delayed. If we think back to Hogwarts Legacy when it was originally released, I believe it was originally released back in 2021 when it was going to be a holiday release for 2021. That was when the original date was going to be. Then it was delayed a year to 2022, which is fine. Games take their time to develop. It happens. And originally, I believe the developers, Avalanche and Portkey Games, they originally announced that this game was just going to be a next-gen console exclusive. Then, basically, the turmoil and the debates started to happen with the community and the fans. Basically, they were saying that they need to open this game up to older consoles. They need to bring this to not just the next gen, because at the time, next gen consoles were kind of still hard to get. They were very hard to find in the market, you know. I mean, I've been on the hunt for my PS5. I know how it feels like. I know how it feels like. I got mine in 2021. I know how it feels like. I know what that's like. It was a hard time to get, but you know, when the game was almost done being developed and everything, there was still some issues going on with trying everybody to get access to a console. So everybody was freaking out that they need to, you know, do what they need to do to bring it back. So they're like, okay, we'll do that. And then realizing how long that was taking, the developers basically said, we're going to have to delay everything once again because we're trying to fit the needs of the people to bring them the best game that they've ever seen within the Harry Potter universe or the Wizarding World. So that was when they released the game originally back in February for the next-gen consoles and PC. Then fast forward to May, which is when they released it for Xbox One and PlayStation 4 consoles. Then the Switch still has not gotten its release. It was supposed to get its release back in the summer, in July of this past year, but then it got delayed because of how much editing and, you know, bug fixing that they needed to do before release. And then it was finally then released in November, which was actually this week that this video was released. So I could see, you know, why there's just such a backlash with Hogwarts Legacy, because like personally for me, when I played Hogwarts Legacy, I absolutely loved it. There's so much that you can do in the game. It is absolutely phenomenal. But if it's not deserving of a Game Award just specifically for those reasons, I mean, personally, I don't think it's fair to treat a game like that, because, you know, when a game goes through development, it's got to go through development. It's got to take its time, because if it wants to be the best thing possible, it needs to be the best thing possible. You know what I'm saying? But unfortunately, the community and everyone just did not agree to that. So that's just what that was. Yeah, but obviously these games, the majority of them, I saw being in this category for Best Action Adventure for the year. So I think that the winner for this category, and we're going to place bets in this video, I think the winner for this category is going to be, honestly, from looking at these games, Marvel's Spider-Man 2. If you think about the story and if you think about the game itself for action adventure, this game delivers. If it's not Spider-Man 2, then it's going to be Jedi Survivor. It's going to be one of those two, hands down. Alright, moving on along, and we're not going to be doing every video game nomination in this video. I'm just going to touch the main highlighted ones that everybody's going to be looking out towards. And going from there. But I do want to start with this one, Best Adaptation. So Best Adaptation is basically a video game that is turned into a movie or television series. So this year we've got some really great contenders. We've got Castlevania Nocturne, we've got Gran Turismo, The Last of Us, the Super Mario Brothers movie, and then Twisted Metal. All fantastic movies and television shows. Honestly, if I have to go through this, because I have seen Gran Turismo, personally, I'm not someone who was really big in the racing world. Perfectly fine, all the haters can comment, I don't care, but I'm not personally a racing person myself. I don't personally see that, you know, being the one that I think is going to win. But if you look at the records in the box office and everything that Gran Turismo brought, It wasn't stunning. It wasn't stunning. No, because if we think back to like when Sonic was released in theaters, that took off. When Uncharted hit movie theaters, especially with Mr. Tom Holland, hallelujah, being your main actor there playing as Nathan Drake, that skyrocketed box office sales. If you look at these movies and TV shows, the ones that I am torn between is between The Last of Us, which was an HBO series, and that was phenomenally well done. Basically, they went through Neil Druckerman, who is the creator of The Last of Us series and is one of the heads of Naughty Dog. He pretty much took the story of The Last of Us. He redid it in a sense to basically appeal to not only newer audiences to the series, but also those who've played the games, to give more of an elaborate story. Speaking of Bill, if we remember Bill from The Last of Us, he is the survivor that basically Joel and Ellie run into to grab supplies, especially a car, so that they can progress their way further to go and meet the Fireflies out west. And what they did with the television series was absolutely phenomenal, seeing Bill's life, what Bill's life was like during the apocalypse and having a significant other. That truly was like the hallmark of that season. It was truly so powerful. Plus, all the actors and actresses in that television series did such a phenomenal job. I'm also torn that it's going to also be the Super Mario Brothers movie. If you think about the Super Mario Brothers movie, I will be honest, everybody was so skeptical. Everybody was so skeptical about Chris Pratt. No offense to Chris Pratt, but everybody was so skeptical of Chris Pratt playing as Mario himself. Everybody was like, how is this going to happen? Same with Jack Black playing as Bowser, and then every other character that is in this movie. Box office sales skyrocketed for this movie. It did so phenomenally well that it just pleased all audiences. It was the talk of the town. So was The Last of Us. So I could see both of those as contenders. But if I'm going to have a personal choice as to what's going to be chosen, I'm going to go with The Last of Us. I think that one's going to be it. But if it's not The Last of Us, because that's just my personal bias, if it's not going to be The Last of Us, it's definitely going to be the Super Mario Brothers movie. Moving right on along to Best Art Direction. Best Art Direction, we've got Alan Wake 2, Hi-Fi Rush, Lies of P, Super Mario Brothers Wonder, and then The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. So when we think about Best Art Direction, we have to think about in terms of the graphics. Basically, everything that we see in the game and how it's visually stunning towards the game, to basically see where, this is going to go. Because video games start off as drawings, and then they get animated, and then they go from there, and everything from that sake. Obviously, again, Alan Wake 2, I cannot speak on this, so I'm just going to skip Alan Wake 2. Again, haters can hate me in the comments, but I have not played Alan Wake 2, so I'm just going to leave that and set that aside. Hi-Fi Rush was a game developed by Tango Gameworks and Bethesda Softworks. It's actually an Xbox exclusive as well as PC, so it's available for both PC and Xbox. Not for PlayStation users, sorry to those folks. Me. And it's basically a game that involves a bunch of rhythm coordination and dancing. Supposedly so obviously I know nothing about this game, but if you look at the visuals and the graphics that are seen in the game, it's absolutely stunning, incredibly stunning. I can't speak on Lies of P. Lies of P was released back in September by Round 8 Studio and NeoWiz Games, and this basically takes on the story of I'm going to just assume it's Pinocchio. You go as Pinocchio here as a puppet, wandering around the city of Krop, basically trying to solve the mysteries of what's going on with the petrification disease, the alchemists, the puppets, etc., etc. Why is the whole city turning into the state that it is, pretty much. And you learn that this puppet begins to develop morality. He begins to develop, these thoughts in his head based off of lies that he tells to other characters. As it is played as a Souls-like game, as it's very similar to like a Dark Souls or Elden Ring type of gameplay, the graphics are absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning. And I can absolutely see this being in Best Art Direction for sure. I originally wasn't thinking that Lies of P was going to be a nomination for this Game Awards, but thankfully it's got a few, so it's exciting to see. It's very exciting to see. Super Mario Bros. Wonder, I'm just going to skip that game entirely because I have mixed feelings and opinions on that. And then last but not least, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Yes, obviously the graphics in those games are absolutely phenomenal, absolutely gorgeous. I believe Breath of the Wild was also nominated for Best Art Direction as well. If looking at these games and from what I have played this past year, obviously, there are games that I wanted to be in here, but they're obviously not nominated, and nor did I think that their art direction was clearly as good as some of these other ones. Like, Lies of P is my all-time, I think that one's going to be it. It's either going to be, honestly, from looking at these nominations, it's going to be either Lies of P, Hi-Fi Rush, or Tears of the Kingdom. I think, personally, Hi-Fi Rush is going to take this award, just to be quite honest with you. I think it's going to take this award. Alright, Best Audio Design. So when we think about audio design, we have to think about the surround sound, like you're in a movie theater, you're experiencing the game. How is the audio with everything? Like, how are you being encompassed into the video game world itself? That's what this award is for. And these are the nominees. Again, Alan Wake 2. I feel like this game never stops with the nominations. It's so crazy. Again, I have to play it. Dead Space, the Dead Space remake. Now that is the first nomination that Izzy, and I believe it's the only nomination that this game has received. So well done to Motive Studios for that. Hi-Fi Rush, Marvel Spider-Man 2, and Resident Evil 4. Now, again, I can't speak for Hi-Fi Rush because I'm not an Xbox player. And I can't speak for Alan Wake 2 because I just haven't played the game. So don't even talk to me about that. But I can talk about these other ones. From playing through these three games, honestly, Dead Space Remake was absolutely phenomenal in terms of, the reboot. Obviously, before playing Dead Space Remake, I played the Callisto Protocol. Jeez, get the names right. I played the Callisto Protocol, which basically is a spin-off of what Dead Space is. Dead Space was originally a game that was created back in, I think 2006? God, that's a long time ago. And then was remastered in 2023. Now, Dead Space Remake is by far one of the scariest horror games that is out there that you should definitely go and play. Even though some of the effects are kind of cheesy, it's still worth getting because you just have to live through that experience, if you know what I'm saying. Basically, the audio that is given with the warning signs, everything that's going on around you on the ship, it gets you fully encompassed with the horrors that await for you in the ship. And again, best horror game that I've, experienced and played, even with its cheesy graphics, it still was a phenomenal game. Marvel Spider-Man 2, obviously that makes sense, being in the cinematic world of, Marvel and Spider-Man. That game really truly delivered. And Resident Evil 4, I mean, yeah, you're fighting bad guys, you're shooting them all up, yes. Encompassed, oh yes, baby. And then all the growlings that are happening. Oh yes, honey, yep. Yep, that makes so much sense. So if I had to pick a winner from this category, honestly, personally, I like the underdog. I think Dead Space Remake is going to take this category, hands down. And again, if Alan Wake 2 beats all of my suggestions, then Alan Wake 2 is going to be the one that does that. We're going to move right on along to the game that is the games that are nominated for Best Narrative. So when we think about Best Narrative, we think about the story. How is the story compared to everything else that we see in video games? How is the story? Take a look at some of these. Alan Wake 2. Again, I'm not choosing nominations that have Alan Wake 2 on purpose. It just happens to be here. I really need to play this game. Baldur's Gate 3 by Larian Studios, Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty, Final Fantasy 16, and Marvel Spider-Man 2. Now, I'm going to be completely biased with this award. I honestly think, personally, in my opinion, Best Narrative is going to go to Final Fantasy 16. Here is why I believe Final Fantasy 16 is going to get this award. And again, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but this is what I personally believe. Final Fantasy 16 delivers an encompassing story about Clive and how Clive Rossfield basically gets to be basically the shield to the icon of the Phoenix, which is one of the many various gods within the Final Fantasy series, who in this case is his younger brother, Joshua. Basically, after the events that have occurred at Phoenix Gate, and after being separated thinking that Joshua died all those years ago after a mysterious icon appeared out of nowhere and fought against the Phoenix. Basically, Clive is on this journey to basically discover that the icon of Ifrit, this unknown being, is himself. He is this icon, so he has to come to terms that he killed his brother. That's what he first comes to terms with. But then realizing that why did this all happen? Why did this occur? That's what he goes and discovers the answers to. And while he goes out and does all of that, he goes and tackles the main mission that Sid has been doing for quite some time. After meeting Sid, after a battle scene in the very beginning of the game, to go out and defeat the Mother Crystals. And the Mother Crystals are basically like the entities that basically give these towns, kingdoms, whatever you want to call them, basically gives them like the power to like do whatever it is that they can do, and it helps. And it basically like helps power up the icons in some sort of state and fashion. And basically, we need to stop that because it's killing the land. It was pretty much like killing the entire land. So a mission was to destroy it, and then eventually leading up towards the end of the game, you find out that the main source of all of this was from a being known as Ultima, and basically Ultima is like, you know, Clive, or as he calls him as Mythos, basically was telling. Basically, Clive is the one that he has been searching for all along, and basically Clive is doing his bidding, and he's going to join forces, and then there's going to be world destruction. Clive ain't all about that. Neither is Joshua, Jill, or any other person that is in that game. So basically, they have to do what it takes to basically stop him. Now, I'm going to obviously, like I said, I am biased towards this. It just makes It's just what it is. I'm going to be completely personally biased about this. Final Fantasy 16 delivers a narrative that is so compact and is so expansive. It is so well put together. So well put together. It deserves this award. It truly deserves this award. If you want to see my videos for Final Fantasy 16, which I just recently finished the series for, you should check them out in the description below. And I'm gonna be completely honest, like Cyberpunk, no offense to Cyberpunk, but like, really? Same goes for Baldur's Gate 3. I mean, I'm gonna have a lot of haters coming at me and saying like, what's wrong with Baldur's Gate 3? I think you know what's wrong with it. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Next one I want to talk about is Best Performance. So Best Performance is an award that is given to an actor or actress who basically comes in and plays a character in one of these games. It's basically like winning like the Oscar for Best Actress in like a film, but for a video game. So we have like a video game version of it, which is going to be awesome. Our nominees are Ben Starr, who voices Clive in Final Fantasy XVI, Cameron Monaghan, who voices Cal Kestis in Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Idris Elba, I don't know who you voice in Cyberpunk, but he's from Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty, Melanie Liburd, who is one of the main protagonists in Alan Wake 2, Neil Newborn, who is one of the main protagonists in Baldur's Gate 3, and last but not least, Yuri Lowenthal, who voices Peter Parker in Marvel Spider-Man 2. These are all good nominations, honestly, all good nominations. And again, I'm going to be completely biased. I honestly think that this award is going to go to either of the following: Ben Starr for Final Fantasy XVI, or Cameron Monaghan for Star Wars Jedi Survivor. It's going to be one of these two. You can't convince me anywhere else, and here's why. Going into Ben Starr for Final Fantasy XVI, when he plays Clive Rosfield, there are moments in the story where Clive is in grief. He is heartbroken at some things that have occurred. He is desperately crying out for help. He's, come to terms that he wants to kill himself from finding out the truth. There are things that this character goes through, and it questions everything about life itself. And Ben Starr just does a phenomenal job playing Clive Rosfield to emote those actions, because I truly believed Clive Rosfield. When we think about Cameron Monaghan when Jedi Survivor, in terms of Cal Kestis went through quite the journey. He went through quite the journey to get to where he is now. Pretty much discovering that, Bodhi, who he had been working with for quite some time, trying to, gather more information about... It's been a long time since I've played the game, but you get what I'm trying to say. Basically working alongside with Bodhi to go after information about, these old temples that, Master Cordova basically was talking about, pretty much. And then to see that betrayal, and then seeing Cal Kestis turn to the dark side towards the end, crazy. Just crazy. That's all I have to say about that. Crazy. But if I'm going to be completely honest, it's going to be Ben Starr for Final Fantasy XVI. I feel like that's going to be the winner, hands down. Alright, we're going to do 3 more nominations for this video. Thank you for bearing with me and listening to my thoughts and everything that goes on. But we're just going to stick with 3 more nominations. Starting with most anticipated game for next year. So basically, a game that is going to be coming out next year that everybody is very excited for. And the most anticipated game nominations are Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Hades 2, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, Star Wars Outlaws, and Tekken 8. Now, looking at these nominations, I knew Tekken 8 was going to get a nomination because anything from the Tekken series has done tremendously well. I'm not a fighting game person myself, but from looking at this, girl, it's gonna do wonders. Any Tekken game that has been released, specifically when Tekken 7 was released, that received massive reviews of popularity and positivity. It was great. It was great to see. It's like, again, I'm not a fighting game person myself, but it's glad to see that they're taking it in the right direction. It's great. Honestly, if I looked at this list, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I believe, is going to be the most anticipated game for next year. Here's why. Square Enix originally created Final Fantasy VII back in 1997. That was when it was first originally released. Final Fantasy VII tells the tale of this ex-soldier of what's the company? Shinra. God, I'm not playing these games in such a long time. But yes, he's an ex-soldier from of Shinra, which is basically this company that basically pretty much rules the city of Midgar. And basically, Clive works with a bunch of rebels known as Avalanche. Works very closely with Tifa and Barrett to basically help them solve the crimes that Shinra has committed to Midgar in terms of, sampling and taking Midgar's, life essence. It's not materia, it's something else. Whatever it is, I posted it in the video and you have it seen on the screen there with, and to go from there. But yeah, pretty much you find out that this is what's going on. Shinra's a bad group of people and it needs to be stopped. Then developing in the game, you see more characters start to develop, such as Aerith. She's known to be one of the last living ancients that is on this planet, and how she needs to make sure that the world is preserved and that, the essence of the life flow that this city in the world actually produces is preserved. It needs to be saved. So she works closely together with them to make sure that that is done. And obviously, Cloud has a very big antagonist in this game, and that is the one and only Sephiroth. Sephiroth was a soldier as well for Shinra as well, but as we learn in Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core Reunion, excuse-moi, we find out that, something happened and came over with Sephiroth after, discovering the secrets of Jenova and what Jenova was really anticipating from the very start. And basically, trying to stop Sephiroth from taking over the world, yada, 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 all that good stuff there. And so when this game was originally created in 1997, no one ever saw the anticipation of, the developers wanting to make a remake for Final Fantasy VII, and they did. Back in, I believe it was 2019? 2019 or 2020? No, I'm stupid. 2020. Back in 2020, this game got itself a remake. But not the full remake that you think that they did. They are splitting the remake for Final Fantasy VII into 3 installments. They started the first one as Final Fantasy VII Remake, then upgraded it to Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate, which included an intermission DLC episode that involves Yuffie from Wutai there, and that was PlayStation 5 exclusive. That was just part 1. Part 2 is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and that's what's going to be coming out next year. And everybody's excited to see what's going to continue in this version of the Final Fantasy VII story arc, as they're changing it a little bit from the original. And after this game is done, there's one more that they're developing. There is one more that they are developing. And that is crazy to believe and think about, if we're going to be completely honest. It's crazy to think about. Crazy to think about. So that's why, from looking at all of these games, it don't matter. To me, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is going to be the clear winner of this category. Sorry to all the other ones, especially Tekken 8, but Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is going to be the winner for this category. Alright, before we get to the one that everybody is wanting to know, my opinion and my thoughts are, we're going to go into Best Game Direction. Basically, this category talks to us about how studios and developers for these games in these companies, which way they're heading towards games. Which way they're heading. And it's really interesting to see what these nominations are. Can you guess the first one? It's Alan Wake 2. Again, this game has so many nominations. It's like the God of War Ragnarok of last year. It's nuts. We also have Baldur's Gate 3. We also have Marvel's Spider-Man 2. We also have Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Again, don't want to talk about it. We also have Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Now, in terms of best game direction and where this is going to go, honestly, I only see one contender that is going to win this category based on what has been nominated, and that is Marvel's Spider-Man 2. The reason why I say that is because Insomniac Games has released statements about upcoming releases that they're planning on releasing. They have rumored about a release of their game of Marvel's Wolverine for quite some time. Supposedly, we are going to be getting this game some point next year. Is that official? No, it's not. But everyone is anticipating for the release of Wolverine, as it's going to be the next Spider-Man for video game play. It's going to be absolutely incredible and absolutely insane to see. Seeing how the end of Marvel's Spider-Man 2 ends the story of pretty much we are done with Peter Parker and how it eventually goes into Miles Morales gameplay, it leads into the fact that there's going to be a third release for Spider-Man within this story arc, and it's how it's going to focus primarily on Miles Morales himself. It just makes sense. It just makes sense. The rest of these nominees are irrelevant, and again, I'm sorry to Alan Wake 2, and the only reason why I'm saying I'm sorry to Alan Wake 2 is because I've never played the game. I've never played the game, so I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, but I've never played the game. I've never played the game. I'm sorry. I'm gonna play it, and then probably my mind's gonna change about some things, and then we're gonna go from there. Last but not least, the one that we've all been waiting for, Game of the Year. So when a game is nominated for Game of the Year, it pretty much basically encompasses everything that makes a video game great. The music, the score, the art, the narrative, everything that makes a video game, they did right. This game proceeds to be the best of the year, and it will do marvelous wonders. So on and so forth. All that hoorah. Here are your nominees that they have selected for Game of the Year. Alan Wake 2. Okay, in actuality though, to be quite honest, I'm actually happy to see that this is nominated for Game of the Year. Baldur's Gate 3, Marvel's Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Super Mario Bros. Wonder. I have mixed feelings about that. And The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Now, you probably have been wondering for quite some time why I'm giving such a bad rep to the Super Mario Bros. Game. Why I'm giving such a bad rep. Here's honestly why. I mean, obviously Super Mario Bros. Has been such a big thing since 1985. That was when the original Super Mario Bros. Was released, back in 1985. Super Mario Bros. Has been expanded upon, has been redone, has been done all this and all that. I honestly feel like that Super Mario Bros. Has had its time. It's really truly had its time. You had your prime moment, Mr. Plumber Man. You've had your prime, you've had your moment, and this is just my personal bias. Honestly, I don't think you're worth Game of the Year. I do think that you're worth Best Family Game compared to all the other ones that are nominated on that list. I think you'd be the best fit for that. By all means, yeah, man. You better do that. But Game of the Year, you crazy. You crazy. I also want to point out the fact, if you look at the nominees for Game of the Year, none of these games are Xbox. None of these games are Xbox. If you think about it, Alan Wake 2 is a PlayStation exclusive. Baldur's Gate 3, I believe, is also a PlayStation exclusive, along with PC. Marvel's Spider-Man 2 is a PlayStation exclusive. Resident Evil 4 is also a PlayStation exclusive, along with PC, of course. Super Mario Bros. Wonder, Switch. Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Switch. There is nothing representing Xbox in Game of the Year, which is fascinating. And again, I'm not trying to say that I'm giving a bad rep to all things Xbox, except for Starfield. You know why. But other than Starfield, you know, like the fact that there is no representation of Xbox games in this lineup is interesting. Because I felt like last year for Game of the Year, we got some pretty good representation of games that have been seen pretty much throughout the Game of the Year nominees. This year, it's mainly PlayStation, PC, and Switch. There's nothing representing Xbox. It's insane. It's crazy to think about. It's nuts. Because I could have seen another Game of the Year contender that I really wanted to see was Hogwarts Legacy. I said my spiel about Hogwarts Legacy as to probably why that did not get any nominations at all. It is what it is. This is what we've got. This is what they've, gone with for these awards. And if I'm going to be completely honest with you all, based on these nominations, as much as I would like to see Spider-Man 2 win the award, I feel like that game is going to be the God of War Ragnarok of the 2023 Game Awards. And the reason why I say it's the God of War Ragnarok of this year's Game Awards is because everybody anticipated God of War Ragnarok to win Game of the Year. It won so many other awards, though. It won so many other awards. It truly, truly did. But it did not win Game of the Year. Elden Ring did. And you think back at what Elden Ring has done and what Elden Ring has committed to everything in terms of the Dark Souls universe. It's mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. So from looking at this list, I will personally cry if Super Mario Bros. Wonder gets the award. I will cry. Personally, I will cry. I also really don't want to see Baldur's Gate 3 win the award, but I have a feeling that it's going to be pretty high up there as well. It's going to be pretty high up there as well. To be quite honest with you, I would rather much see either Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, or Alan Wake 2 take the award for Game of the Year this year. That's just personally my take on it. My personal vote for Game of the Year for this year, if I'm going to just be completely biased, it's not on this list. It's not on this list. My personal vote for what should be Game of the Year this year is Final Fantasy 16. That's just my personal vote, and you can go with it, you can not go with it. It's whatever you want to believe. Whatever you want to believe. And yeah, that's pretty much all of the award nominations that have been done. Again, there are other nominations that have been announced and everything, but with what I do with this channel and the games that I play, these that I have gone over in this video feel the most relevant to me and my gameplay and my take, and that's just that. Because that's what speaks to me, that's what speaks with everything that I have to say, and to go from there. Now, if you have a varying opinion, if you would like to voice your opinion on anything that I have said, or if you would like to agree or disagree, Let me know in the comments below. I would love to see what you all are thinking in terms of these nominations. But this is my take on everything that you see listed here for the nominations for this year's Game Awards. If you want to check out the Game Awards, feel free to go ahead and you can purchase yourself tickets online at thegameawards.com for Thursday, December 7th. If you are able to attend in person, it's absolutely phenomenal. You should definitely do it. Highly recommend. It will be on December 7th. It's a Thursday night. It starts at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific. And if you're not able to go attend in person, that is absolutely okay. You can also attend the award ceremony by watching the live stream. I'm going to personally be watching the live stream, and I'm going to be live streaming myself watching the live stream of the Game Awards so we can experience this together. Because not only are, games are being handed awards, but there's also trailers for upcoming games, and that's what's so exciting, is to see what's coming out. More trailers are released, more things are developed, and we can see what's going on, and it's just absolutely phenomenal. And if you're interested in also voting for any of these awards, feel free to cast your vote at thegameawards.com. Definitely is there. You can check out that link in the description below. I will have that there for you so that you can go in and you can cast your vote. So like I said, that is all I have to say. That is all I have to spiel about this event and everything that has been nominated. Kudos to all of the games that have been nominated. You did a phenomenal job with everything. I can't wait to see what's going to happen at this year's Game Awards. It's going to be absolutely exciting. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching this video. Please feel free, like I said, to leave a like if you liked what you saw. Feel free to ring those bells. If you would like to see more content like this in the future, where I give a descriptive analysis over everything. And feel free to leave your comments in the comment section below. And as always, as for right now, this has been RaisinBran, and I will see you in the next video.